He eased his hand away, slow and reluctant, as though waking from a dream he wished would hold him a little longer. The air between us still trembling with the faint echo of his touch. I didn't move, barely letting myself breathe, afraid even the softest exhale might shatter the delicate stillness settling around us. And the warmth he'd left on my skin stayed there, quiet, insistent, alive. My robe slipped from one shoulder, yet I didn't lift a finger to fix it, because some silences are meant to linger, reminding us how close to people can come to speaking without a single word. I remember that night, not for what unfolded but for what it uncovered, the quiet truth we'd both tiptoed around for too long. What started as a small gesture of comfort shifted into something deeper, something that subtly changed the ground beneath us. I convinced myself it was nothing more than helping him relax after a long day. But beneath that simplicity lived a feeling I didn't yet know how to name, waiting patiently to be acknowledged. The room held a soft scent of eucalyptus and gentle blossoms, a fragrance that seemed to slow time itself. A warm towel already rested across his shoulders, edges tidy and familiar. I smoothed the small crease and whispered, "Just breathe. I'm right here." He smiled with his eyes closed, trusting me in that quiet way he always had. A trust built from years of soft understanding rather than words. And then she entered her steps silent, assured, her hair pinned neatly, her posture even and composed. She needed no direction, she simply understood. She offered me a brief look, a muted acknowledgement before turning her attention to him. Her hands settled on his shoulders and began working in slow, steady circles, each movement deliberate and calm, almost reverent. Her touch, speaking in a language only the body truly knows. He released a long, slow breath, tension loosening in his shoulders as if each exhale was its own quiet surrender, and I leaned back, half hidden in the soft glow of the lamp, watching his body gradually ease beneath her practiced touch. He believed I had stepped out, that I'd arranged this moment for him, and quietly slipped away. But I remained still as a shadow at the edge of the light, observing. She moved with the kind of discipline that understood restraint, her touch carrying both precision and patience, every subtle shift in her stance intentional, almost reverent, giving the room a slower, deeper rhythm. His hand twitched once, barely there, but enough to catch my tiny spark of awareness rising beneath the calm. She paused briefly and with a small smile murmured, "I've always had steadier hands." Her voice light, almost teasing, though her gaze never left her work. He didn't answer, but a faint line appeared between his brows. Recognition surfacing like a memory brushing against the edges of his thoughts. Because something in him sensed this moment wasn't ordinary, I leaned forward, resting my chin against my hand, studying him as his body softened rather than resisted, as if it were listening in its own way. She continued her movements with the same steady rhythm, yet something unspoken passed between them. When I finally rose, she glanced up just long enough to meet my eyes before returning to him. I stepped closer and settled beside him, near enough for him to feel me yet not close enough to see me clearly. I let my hand rest gently on his arm, and he drew a sharp breath, eyes fluttering open, something unfocused at first, then finding me. He didn't speak, and he didn't need to, because the truth had already settled into his gaze. I had never left. That I had been there the entire time, quietly guiding the moment towards something neither of us had ever been brave enough to name, and the air grew thick with an unspoken understanding. She met my eyes again with a silent question, and my small nod was all she needed to continue, her voice steady as she asked, still comfortable, while his reply came low and uncertain, "Yes, I'm fine." And her hands moved with the same fluid ease, pulling him deeper into a calm that felt almost sacred. The pauses between his breaths lengthened, softened, and my hand stayed resting on his arm, anchoring him, a gentle reminder that even in silence he wasn't alone. He turned his head slightly then, his gaze settling on me with a softness stripped of the usual composure he wore like armor, and for the first time in months I saw him, the real him, tired and raw beneath all the weight he carried. She halted again, barely whispering, "You're sure?" And I nodded once more, answering, "This is for him. He needs to learn how to let go," my voice trembling as the truth finally sank into him. His breath shaking on the exhale as realization unfolded inside him. It wasn't about touch or comfort or the ritual itself, but about being seen, truly seen. After holding a quiet ache far longer than anyone should, the rest of the session passed in near silence, her movements slowing until they became less about technique and more about stillness. Every gentle sweep of her hand echoing the same message, "You can stop fighting now, it's safe to rest." Outside, daylight faded into a soft evening glow, the room bathed in warm amber that felt almost forgiving, and he looked steadier, more grounded, as if something inside him had finally unclenched. When I brushed my fingers along his forearm, he stirred and placed his hand over Mina's small gesture, but heavy with everything he didn't yet know how to say. When she finally finished, she stepped back without a sound.